So today I'm going to cover these things. So understanding your individual strengths, using your strengths at work, working in diverse teams, and your brand. Who here has heard a lot lately about personal brand? Yeah? It tends to get, it's in the press a lot, it's companies set up just to deliver that kind of training. It really is critical. All it really means is, if you don't know what personal brand is really about you and your perception with an employer in this case. Highly, highly critical. So start, this whole session and what ReadyGrad do is about preparing your mind and your presence and your impact ready for employer world. Because you're thinking like a student now, we don't want you thinking like a student when you start a job. So this is all preparation. Today's going to be very interactive. I usually say it's going to be really fun, but then if I'm sitting in a presentation, and I usually say I'll decide if it's fun or not, yeah? So I won't say it's fun yet, but I'm sure you'll have a good time. So what I want you to do, first of all, just on your own, so not with anyone else, I want you just to have just a bit of reflection time, just a couple of minutes, and I want you to think about your key strengths. So I want you to think from now on the next hour, just think in terms of workplace. So not strength that I'm a great tennis player or I'm great at something else. Think in a work sense, so think of a broad competency or behaviour or something that you know you're quite good at. So attention to detail might be a big strength of yours, yeah? Just have a think on your own, just maybe a quick minute. Just have a quiet time to reflect on that. So what I want you to do is, now everyone got one in mind. Look, it doesn't need to be, not going to be defined by this, yeah? So just come up with something that you think you're quite strong at. What I want you to do, just in, say, threes, if you don't mind, if that works, twos or threes is okay. And all I want you to do is, I want you to share with your co-team members about where that's been displayed at university, and then, in a future sense, how you think it would be displayed in the workplace. Let's do it. Was that quite insightful? Did it make you think about some things to do with the future of you being in a workplace as an employee? Yeah? So your brain thinking about that transition. So keep that, so just hold on to those thoughts, yeah? Okay, because we're going to use those things you've just talked about, we're going to use in the next 10 or 15 minutes. So I'm assuming some of you may study together, but you've probably never talked to each other in this depth before. And this is what happens in a workplace. This is exactly why we do it, because you turn up for work day one, and you're working with not just people like yourself that are coming with the same graduate intake, for example, but you're working with Gen Xers, baby boomers, and this cross-generational stuff as well. So the awareness of the cross-generational differences, combined with the strength differences, is a reality of the workplace, and you need to be aware of that. That is critical, which takes us through neatly and very strategically into our next little bit. So, does that all make sense? You see what the connection is of what you've just done? I didn't just get you to draw pictures because we thought we needed to keep you busy. Yeah, it's about teasing out these things that you need to bring to the workplace, essentially. So we talked about brand. This is my personal sort of favourite, and these aren't just the only bits and pieces that we cover in what we call a job readiness kind of session. This is my favourite of all these because it really is about you and your perception. And the reason that we think this is so critical is because as an employer, too many times I've seen, especially on the day one start of a graduate, so you might have worked before, but your study will culminate in getting a job of some description, is the amount of students or graduates that come into day one and really still think and act and talk like a student is disturbing a little bit, yeah? Everyone knows you're a graduate, but it's about your perception of knowing that there's got to be a transition for you. There's got to be that level of, okay, I'm finishing my study, then I'm going to the workplace. I need to be myself, and we're all about being authentic with who you are. But think about just the polish that you can give your impact in a work sense, because the employer will expect that, which is exactly why we came up with this material. So, what is a personal brand? We've talked a bit about that. Who would give me a definition of what a personal brand is, even though we've covered it briefly? Who would have a go at
It's
defining?
like how you sell yourself, so
Yeah.
how other people perceive you and how you show how you are and how you act.
Yeah, and the latter part of that I think is closer to being right. Yeah. So it's about your impact, the perception of you, and how you want to be known. Really, is what it's about. So personal brand, and we're going to do a quick. We're not going splitting up in threes anymore. So it's all in together. But how do we, I suppose, impact that, or how do we bridge that divide between our personal brand and the employer? And I'll talk about just the employer being the company that you're working for. Is building rapport. Rapport is the key element to you showing enough of yourself that you can build rapport to then create sustained relationships within the business, which is what the whole world is built on, right? It's relationally, how do you interact, and how are you going to offer yourself and your services and your skills and expertise into a workplace. Does anyone, so we're really big on rapport. Rapport is huge, and again, because we see a big gap with that, and Generation Y, I mean, I don't want to throw a blanket over all Gen Ys, but there is an expectation that when you all arrive, if you are Generation Y, and you arrive in a workplace, there's an expectation of what can you give me as a company, as in I'm the graduate, what can you give me? What development can I get? Instead, we should be aware of that, but thinking about how do we frame that in a positive way that we need to give something to the employer because they're giving us an opportunity to work and they're going to pay us for it. So this is going back to my uni days. The Iceberg Model, have you all heard of the Iceberg Model? Who hasn't heard of it? It's okay if you haven't. It's not as simple as Maslow's hierarchy of needs, so I won't cover that, but it's really around building rapport as well. We use this model. So the basic premise of what the Iceberg Model is that this is all water here, and that 90% of the iceberg is underneath the water, 10% is above. So if you imagine the Iceberg Model is about building rapport. The idea is that you want to lower the water level so you show people more of yourself. So if this is you, you're wanting to lower that water level so people see more of you, the iceberg, right? What can we do to lower that? What are some ideas of how do we show more of ourselves? And you're not an iceberg yourself, but how do you lower that water level to create that? Any ideas? So walk into job day one. What would you do to increase your impact and perception and build rapport? Ideas? Hey?
Be friendly.
Be friendly is a basic one, yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah. Be engaged, be friendly, yeah, polite.
Make an effort to actually speak to everyone, introduce yourself, it's different departments.
Yep.
So being friendly, but making that effort.
Yep. Absolutely, yeah.
Learning.
Sorry? Learning, yeah. How would you do that? How would you make sure that you know that you're switched on to learning? Would you seek opportunities to, how would you go about that,
By putting your hand up to go to different events, conferences, or if there's a job that needs to be done that's out of your expertise, you might put your hand up to give it a go.
Yeah, no, it's exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. There's some really good ways. So there's some good examples and fairly common examples that people would give about how you build rapport and effectively how you lower that. So let's use me as an example for a second. What do you know about me? You've met me, you've been with me for the last 40 minutes. What do you know about me?
I know your name.
Yeah? That's a good start. Yeah. What else do you know about me just from the brief interaction we've had?
You've worked at the industry.
Yeah.
You're a confident speaker.
Really? That's nice. Thank you. Thank you.
It's hard to present.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially when you make people draw pictures. Anything else? There you go. So you don't know much about me at all, right? So what if I was to tell you I've got an 8-month-old baby, I'm originally from Perth, I moved here, I didn't have an undergraduate degree, and I studied my postgrad at Swinburne here a few years ago. that BHP wasn't my favourite job. There's some examples of, now you know a lot more about me, yeah? So that's just an obvious way that you can lower that waterline by just building rapport. So it's just showing people more of yourself. That is rapport. So just think of that when you're interacting, even you're going to career fairs this time of year and potentially being assessed by employers or recruiters, just keep this stuff in mind, is just to really lower that water level. Show them more of who you are, not less of who you are. Yeah, don't be guarded. You need to be yourself. So it's not about, this is the critical part of all this, is not to change your style. So don't think I'm an introvert. How on earth can I impact in a positive way? Embrace that introversion. It might just mean that you're very upfront saying, look, hi, I'm just not that confident, and that's okay. That's who you are. There's a reason that you're like that, and embrace that. But just show some evidence of how you can benefit a business or how you can impact with other people, because you might have a really caring nature. Extroverts are floating around the place and maybe don't have the depth that you have, or you know what I mean? It's about those things. So it's not about changing who you are, so don't think you've got to change, but you need to show evidence of effort and impact and things. Yeah. Okay. Enough of me lecturing to you about that stuff. Everyone's different, so people will have different opinions about you. Oh, she's amazing, she's really bright, she's really outgoing, she grates on me because she's far too talkative, she doesn't say enough, you know? You need to be aware of that and control it. Just have a really good think about that, yeah? Take that thinking away and about how you want to be known. So, we're so now ready, we're job ready, we've covered managing brand, working with diverse teams, and working with your strengths, which all culminate and work pretty closely together. So just in your reflection of what we just talked about, you just think about today, just about one thing, what's the key priority, the number one thing that you want to be known for when you go into a job or a workplace. So have a good think about that. And I wanted to say, as you're doing that, and I'd love you if you reflected on that for the rest of the day, that would be perfect. And if you've got any really burning questions, I've only got a minute or two left, but I'm happy to answer whatever you like about anything for the next minute or two. Any questions about today or otherwise? What's happening in the market with recruitment? What your big fears are around assessment centres? Anything? And I'm happy to hang around on your way out if you want to have a quick chat about it. So thank you very much.